Hello guys, and welcome back to the Crew Wild Run. Driving all cars, part number 25. A bit of an icon in the racing game industry and also in real life street racing scene, let's call it that. The Nissan Skyline GTR in V-Spec R34 version. Before I start the video, we are of course going to talk about this car, but not only that, we're also going to try to figure out which is the best full spec car in this game. Since this is the last one, I think that we cover which has all the full specs, or all of the different specs: street, dirt, performance, circuit, rate, drift, monster and drag. So we are dealing with the Camaro 2010, the Challenger 2012, the Mustang 2011, the Nissan 370 2013 and this Skyline. Those are 5 cars which have all the specs, or a full spec car as I call that, has all the specs in this game. Which is the best? That's also something we are going to try to figure out while doing this video. You will hear some music because for some reason the radio in game was on. I hope it doesn't bother too much in the background. As you can see, full spec, 280 brake power in full stock, 1360 kilograms. And talking of that weight, I think we can already, for the full spec ranking, let's call it that, we can rule out the Camaro and the Challenger, because the weight is pretty much killing those cars, and they are also not really outstanding in any of the specs. Which leaves us with the 370Z, the Skyline and the Mustang 2011. What you will also see is what I daily go through in this game. Getting randomly requests from all over the place. They don't talk, they don't send private message or don't tell who they are, they just randomly send friend requests. For those who do that, if you're on my channel, I am not accepting those. If I don't know who you are, I'm not accepting random friend requests. If I would have done that every time, then I probably had over 200 friends or so in this game. And that's also going to give you problems. Once you have a lot of friends and you go to PvP, it might give you connection issues and situations like that. My friend list is, well, I don't know, about 20 people or something around there. People who I often go with into a crew and do summit events and stuff like that. And you will see it happen a few times in this video. Let's move on to the street spec. Considered by many players the best street spec in this game, this Skyline. And here I take out the wrong Nissan. Okay, back in. No, I don't want to be in a crew, I am doing a video. People, really. Not much changed here. Red color, bit of a different bumper. Other than that, official colors, official rims. I kept it pretty normal. Some players make, well, circus artist out of this car. I kept it pretty simple. 1 mile drag race as always. Fastest time here 26.3 by the Abarth. Slowest time 27.6 by the Camaro 2010. This is also one of the reasons why the Camaro it's pretty slow in most specs, in acceleration wise. So that really drops out of the ranking together with the Challenger for the same reasons. It's a bit too heavy. So which is the best full spec? This one, 370Z, or the Mustang? We'll see. What we do see here is a 25.7. The first time that we go under the 26 seconds with a street spec, so it's just acceleration is outstanding of this car. That's definitely a plus, and that's also probably which gives it well, the win, let's call it that, over the other specs, but we'll see. For the street spec there are two more opponents arriving in the later in the series, so it might not be even the fastest accelerating, but we'll see. Moving on to the dirt spec. The fastest here is the BMW bike with 26.3, but let's keep it to the cars, and then we did a 26.9 with the 370Z yesterday, which is another contender for the best full spec car in this game. Let's see if we can get the Skyline somewhere in that area. .7. That is a bit of a problem, because that is pretty slow in dirt spec. It does have the acceleration, but it also, well, in dirt spec it suffers a bit from the wheel spin at the start, and that's probably what's killing us here on this 1 mile track. It's actually slower than the Challenger, which did a 27.6. It is faster than the Camaro, which did a 27.8, but it's like 8/10, which is almost a second faster than, slower than the 370Z. Here we go. The black screen situation again. I have to fast forward here somewhere, because eventually it starts, so I didn't have to reboot. Okay, here somewhere. Okay. The Skyline in performance spec. If you look at some popular channels on YouTube, there are some people making an icon of this car. In performance, let us be clear here, in performance it is not that good. Some call it the performance king and stuff like that. I mean, really. Get real. The fastest time here is at 22.8 from the Aston Vanquish, and a lot of 23 and 24 second cars. This one 23.2, so it is also here amongst the faster performance specs, but it's definitely not the fast accelerating superb car or something. It's not like the street spec where it has just won more than half a second over the best car so far, so bit of a difference though. Moving on to the rate spec. Fastest car here, BMW Z4 with a 30.1. Not much wheel spin in the rate spec. It did have some wheel spin in the dirt spec, not in the rate spec, so that might be a good thing for our time. Well, I did notice that as many of these race specs are kinda limiting at 240, 242 on this salt flat. It's probably have to do with the surface, because some of them can go faster. But nevertheless, we get a 30.0, fastest rate spec in the acceleration test so far. The Mustang did a 30.6. To compare it with that one, why we are comparing with that one? Well, the Mustang is one of the best, if not the best rate specs overall. But 30.0 again, the fastest. So it's the fastest we tested so far in rate, it's the fastest we tested so far in street. It's a bit slow in dirt, probably because of the wheel spin, and it's pretty decent acceleration in performance spec. Moving to the circuit spec, while meanwhile getting other friends and crew requests. Try doing videos with people around, not always that easy, but yeah. Just ignore this situation and keep going. Fastest time here, a 22.8 by BMW Z4, 23.0 BMW M4, 23.1 by the Focus. The Skyline does a 23.2. So again, well, most of these circuit specs do a 23 or 22 here, so it's somewhere in the middle, but towards the faster side of things. So overall, we have tested the 5 normal specs now, except for the dirt spec, which seems to be a bit slow on the acceleration test, but other than that, they have a great, and in some specs even superb acceleration. And that's which makes this car definitely a contender for the best full spec car in this game. We will conclude that on the end of this video. Is it this one? Maybe for some. Is it the Mustang? Maybe for some. The street spec. Now, this car by many considered to be the best street spec. If you go to PvP, street races are selected, you will see many people choose this car. The problem I find with it is it has a superb acceleration. We have just proven that in the acceleration test or in the mile drag, but yeah, that's where it wins it. The brakes are decent, not that superb for one of the best in the game, and nor is the handling, I find. It has a bit of a stiff body chassis, as we saw with some of the starter cars as well, which makes it well, a bit understeered or a bit oversteered in some of the corners. But the advantage with this car is, because it has the great acceleration, it doesn't matter that much that you get a bit of oversteer in the corner or a bit of understeer, because coming out of the corner you will have the best acceleration of the lot, so you will easily catch up again or get away from them after every corner. So it is a bit double. It has a decent handling, maybe even a good handling, but in the corners it can be tricky. So here a bit of understeer, a pretty hard time trying to make that corner there. So, and that's why, probably why it's a feeling, I guess, but that's also probably why I don't find this the best street spec there is. I know it is pretty damn good, and it's definitely my number 2, but for most of the street races I used the Mini Cooper, which is smaller and reacts a bit faster, and seeing it is smaller, it doesn't have that body weight balance thing. Body chassis a bit stiff, and then you get some weight balance problems, and which makes probably cost the under and oversteer here and there. But other than that, it's pretty good. I mean, the jumps are smoothly. Top speed you can get to 360 or over it, which is of course amongst the top as well in street spec. So it has the acceleration, it has the top speed, the brakes are decent. That's already 3 out of 4. So what is the 4th? That is of course the overall handling, and also that is pretty good. Although it is a bit long of a car and a stiff body chassis, which kind of makes it go understeer and oversteer here and there. In some of the cars or some of the videos, as I mentioned it back then, it was kind of a problem because it didn't have the acceleration for some of those cars, so they couldn't keep up, or you couldn't get back to the leaders or something like that because of that reason. But this car has the speed, it has the acceleration, it has a decent brakes, so the handling issue that I find that comes with it, with the stiff body chassis, it's not a big of an issue. Seeing you have the acceleration to catch back up, it's not a problem. and that is why it's one of the best street spec for sure. Is it the best? It's a matter of opinion. Personally, I also find it overused, this car. If you go to street in a lobby of 8, you will see 6 people take a Skyline. It's just how it goes. But for me, the number one in street is the Mini and then the Skyline. Some also find the BRZ superb. I hate the BRZ in street spec. I don't know what it is, it's a feeling. High revving, screaming car, that one, and no, don't really like it. So for me, it's either this one or the Mini. In street spec, that is. In performance spec, well, not that good. In my opinion, there are way better cars in performance spec than the Skyline. Also, it's amongst the faster. It has, it always comes back, the acceleration thing. And that's where it will win. You always gonna get a good start, seeing it has all-wheel drive and pretty quick response. As you can see, it goes left, right pretty quickly. Brakes decent, not that superb. They are decent, just like in the street spec. There are cars out there with better brakes, but it's not that they are a big issue. You can throw it just like a street spec. Once you get used to the handling, you can throw it from one corner to another as well. And with a good acceleration, you're again back on track pretty easily. But this one does suffer a bit from the understeer or oversteer situation. In the street spec you can get away with it, especially combination with the acceleration. They can't catch up, so that's not the case with this one. There are better accelerating cars out there, so if you're going to slide about in the corners, they will easily be back in your rear mirrors, figure of speech, if you already are on in the front, which is probably not the case. It's a decent car. It's not amongst the worst, but it's not that good in performance. I have been working on rankings, but I had to test a couple of cars, 20 or so in performance, to get a complete ranking, but it was somewhere in the middle, I believe. And with 20 cars still to test, it's probably gonna keep being there. It is a pretty long car, also not that, well, it's not heavy, but it's also not like it is super light or something, and that makes it kinda oversteer in some corners, but it is an icon, so only for that reason it is used by many in different specs, and some people just overuse this car. Because, you know, it's a Skyline, so they use it anyway. But personal opinion about this performance spec, it's not that good. In the middle of the package, as many of them are. The problem with the performance is you have like 1 or 2 outstanding cars there, which kinda makes all the rest a bit useless. It's also the reason if you go to PvP you will always see 1 or 2 of the same performance cars coming back. Most people will be driving the Huayra, some maybe even the LaFerrari, but that's about it. Although you have 70 plus performance specs. Moving on to the circuits. The circuit also here, acceleration comes back. It is a good one. As well in street. Bit less in performance compared to the competition, but In streets it's the best, and in circuit it's amongst the better accelerating cars. Here we are dealing with some sort of body kit, and that's always a bit of a problem, which makes it a bit stiff. Brakes, kind of a problem it seems. But what you get with this one is, let's put it this way, I would have preferred this handling on the street spec, and then the Skyline would definitely be my number one for street. Because this one handles better. It's easier to throw it around into the corners, smoothly going up, not much of under or oversteer. It has a bit of bud because it's also, well, it's the same long car, so. And then you get situations like that. Meanwhile, I'm involved in a police chase, but should not be a big issue. Well, it already isn't an issue in this game because there's no SWAT team or something like that. It's not Need for Speed World. Police chases are, well, it's a feature in this game. Let's keep it at that, shall we? It's probably the awards that I don't have. Most of them are involved with the police thing. I've been playing Need for Speed World. I loved police chases there with SWAT teams and armored Corvettes chasing you, and they were really chasing you. Here they are driving somewhere on the road, and if you don't slow down, they don't even catch up with you. So police chases are no good in this game. Simple as that. Meanwhile, I crashed, so we can't determine sort of the high speed, but it is pretty good for this one as well. So it has the speed, it has the acceleration, which makes this a decent one in circuit spec, a superb one in street, and well, an average one in performance though, but that's because the others are just better. And well, I'm still in doubt which is the best full spec in this game, but it's probably this one. It's one of the best in street. It is pretty good in dirt, although it has some issues there, but it can definitely also be used in raid. It can be used in circuit. Just performance is probably the worst of the 5 specs that it has. But yeah, what is a best full spec? Probably the one you can use the most specs of in this game. The Mustang has the advantage in raid for sure. It's one of the best. 370Z and the Skyline can be used. In street spec, this one has the advantage for sure. 370Z can be used. Mustang, well, not really. Has a bit of a weight problem. Then we move to dirt. 370Z is pretty good and probably wins it. Although they are sort of equal, I think. 370Z and the Skyline in dirt. Probably, well, I don't know. Maybe even the Skyline a bit better, but Mustang due to weight. Well, it's a bit tricky. I'm not really decided on it yet. Might make a question out of it. Give a comment for those who are watching this video. Which is the best full spec in this game? The Camaro and the Challenger I rule out because they are not outstanding in any of the specs. The 370 is out of those three, the Skyline 370 and the Mustang. This one drops out in drag though. 370 wins it in solo, and if you're in a crew, the Mustang wins the drag. So I don't know. In raid the Mustang wins as well, so I think it's going to come down to a battle between this one and the Mustang for the best full spec, and then we will probably end up with this one. Because also here it goes pretty smooth, as you can see, so it can definitely be used in dirt spec. It is the best in street spec, it can be used in raid, and it can be used in circuit. It can be used in drift, it's one of the better monster specs, so yeah, probably we are looking at the best full spec car in this game. I've done, what is it, almost 1800 kilometers in this thing, according to the speedometer, and I don't know if that's for the car or for the spec itself, not 100% sure about it. We'll take a look when we take out the raid spec if the number is the same or not. But I have been using this in combination with the 370Z in dirt spec while I was doing the story. So for the full spec cars, Mustang, Challenger, Camaro and the two Nissans, definitely the two Nissans in dirt. The other are just too heavy to go to throw into the corners on the dirt road, and yeah, the Americans drop out there. In dirt spec, that is. And also in street spec, because they are too heavy. This one, it slides about a bit, but yeah, that's the same with the 370Z. But if you get used to the handling, you can sort of throw it from one corner to another. Which also, if you're familiar with it, also makes this dirt spec a pretty good one. Although there are better cars. The RAV, the XX, the BRZ, some even like the Fair Lady. Still talking about dirt spec here, so but it's among there. It's definitely maybe even top 5, but probably top 10 for sure. Out of the I don't know how many dirt spec there are, but there are about 35 street specs, and that's pretty sure it is in the top 2 or top 3 at least. And also here you can see it has a pretty good acceleration coming out of the corners. So I don't know what exactly was the problem on the 1 mile track, because there it, compared to the other specs that we have tested there for dirt, it was pretty slow with a 27.7 on the mile. I definitely expected a low 27. But also here top speed is pretty high, so it has a good acceleration and a good top speed, and the handling is pretty good as well, which makes it a good overall dirt spec. 4:55. Well, I guess that already explains it. It's the fastest time we've done here on this dirt test track, although I have been messing around a bit with BMW X6 and not been driving as clean with all the specs. Sometimes we were testing other stuff and suspension or something, so don't really look at the time on the track itself, but it's sort of an indication that this thing is fast, also in dirt. Raid spec, well yeah, that's another story. It is definitely not bad. So there are worse rate specs out there. And it has the acceleration. We established that on the mile. It was the fastest of the lot that we have tested so far. Even half a second faster than the Mustang, which is considered one of the best rate specs. But that is on a flat surface, on a straight line. Then it has the acceleration. Mustang is not that superb on acceleration, but it's a bit superb on the rest. Which is not the case with this one. If you get a combination of jumps, you're sorta seems to be a Nissan problem in rate. You sorta have the same problem with the rate Skyline as with the rate 370Z. Meaning that combination of jumps, you're gonna go sideways in the air or on the landings, and yeah, that makes you lose time. While you don't experience that as much with definitely not with a Silverado, and also not with a Mustang, which are considered the better rate specs, if not the best. That's all personal, and some like that car and others like another one, but only the numbers kinda speak, I always say. And then I'm talking about your numbers and not someone else's. You have to test all the cars and then decide which is for you the best. Go full attack on a certain track or on some tracks and use all the cars there, and then you know what is the best car for you. Sometimes it also has to do with a bit of feeling or sort of a touch that you have with a certain car, but we go a bit of sideways action. On the landing you go a bit more sideways, and it's just like with the 370Z, it's more of a fight than anything else with this car. While the some cars like the Mustang, for instance, well, they're not really going to surprise you. You kind of know what's gonna come, and then never know with this thing. Nor do you do with the 370Z. So in rate spec, out of the 3 contesters for best full spec, it's definitely the Mustang is the winner. And then, well, maybe this is a bit better than the 370Z though. So I would say Mustang, Skyline, 370Z in rate. And I'm not talking overall, I'm talking for the 3 contenders for best full spec car. The cars that have all the specs. From the beginning on we ruled out the Camaro and the Challenger, so it's going to be between the Skyline, Mustang and the 370Z. But the Mustang, I'm thinking, well, the 370Z is not really winning the battle. It's decent to good in many specs, but it's not really winning any of the battles, let's put it that way. It is winning in drag though. 370Z is the best drag car out of the 3 if you're on a solo run. If you're in a crew, then the Mustang wins again. Mustang is also the best in rate, so I'm thinking it's going between this one and the Mustang. Ruling out the 370Z on base that it only wins in the drag. And then, yeah, then you have a win in rate for the Mustang. Drag if you're in a crew. Both of them are decent in performance, but compared to the competition, pretty average. So not really a winner there. But then we have to go look at circuits, then the Skyline wins. Street, the Skyline wins for sure, and in dirt, the Skyline wins as well. So we're probably looking at the best full spec in this game. The raid spec is, well, it is decent and it can be used just like most of the specs of this car. Which, well, sort of brings us to the extreme specs already. So the best use for the normal specs, without any doubt, the street spec. The dirt is definitely not bad. The raid can be used. The circuit can also be used. Performance is probably the least of the lot, but street, well, it's a bit outstanding. So you have to go best use with the street spec. It's one of the best. Moving to the drag car, and that for the extreme spec probably be the worst. Although it is also not really that bad, but yeah, there is always competition, and it's somewhere in the middle of the pack, and that will also show here. So what we are also suffering from here, there is a little bump in this track that we have tested the drag cars on. There are 2 more drag cars to come after this video, but this is kind of the first one where I'm more or less encountering a bit of problems on that little bump there. Here is the little bump, bam, and it's a bit wobbling, and you might just lose it there. This is only like a small bump, but there is like a bigger jump in the current qualifier. Might be a problem with this one. But it's not the only one. Even the best, the Ruffs or the Viper, suffer from that on certain tracks. It's a drag race, it should be a flat track, but that's not always the case in this game. They put in a corner or a few jumps and things like that on the track sometimes. But yeah, there is always, there's also the clutch bug, which many people are using, and well, it's a way of cheating, and because it gains you time, and it's enough reason for me to not bother too much about the drag. I do 3 or 6 runs for summit qualifiers, and that's about it. Basically, a set time. But I have some friends who kind of like the drag, and sometimes they are playing for half an hour, just to, well, what, to win 1/10, 2/10. I never get that. In a time attack you can win a second here or there, or at least a half a second. It's not gonna happen in the drag. You're gonna win a few hundreds, a few tenths, and that's it. And that's just, well, that's not enough for me to spend hours in drag. For the drag itself here, I'm doing it as I'm always doing it. 3 runs with in each run a difference of 500 RPM where I hit the nitro. First run was 7,000, second run 6,500, and in this last one, where I almost lost the car, as you can see, I hit the nitro at 6,000 RPM. Turned out that the 7,000 seemed to be the better one, because that is the best time we have done. 22,250. That is the 3rd time in the drag ranking after the Viper and the 370Z. But in the next videos the 2 Ruffs still have to come, and I am expecting both of them to go under that time. So it is 5th, 4th, 5th, 6th, depending on the track. Somewhere in the middle of the pack. Not really that good of a drag car. Then whenever I decide to go out of this screen. What do we have left? The Monster and the Drift. The Monster spec, well, Monster spec is sort of the same as the Drift. Once you get used to it, I guess you can use most of those cars, but there are, well, here and there some differences. This one and the Raptor are, although the Scirocco is not that bad, but it has the most use. You can use it in the Monster Arena, you can use it in Scramble Test, and if you then go out with all your Monster specs, you often end up with either the Raptor or the Skyline. So it is one of the better Monster specs. Let's call it that. If you could make a ranking, it's probably on top 3 as well. Although it's harder to make a ranking for Monster specs and for drift cars because you can use most of them. And you immediately encounter the problem from the Skyline at times. Not all of the landings always goes good. Might help if you change a bit parts, mess about with the parts a bit. This one is full acceleration because I often use it for scramble tests. It's either this one or the Raptor, one of the two that I use, and which also makes it, you will see some tire smokes here and there, but that's what you often get with cars or Monster specs in this case, if you put them on full acceleration. Bit too much power, and yeah. But it is something which is needed for a scramble test. And I know it doesn't make that much difference, the bonus parts, but for a scramble test it does. Put them on full speed, put them on full acceleration, and you will see you will score more points on full acceleration. Especially if it's a bit of a twisty track with gates all over the place. If it's a straight line scramble test, then you can also go for full speed. Might even be the better option then, but other than that, it you can flick it around, it does the combinations pretty smooth. You just have to be a bit careful with some of the landings. But even a flip like this, which where I was kind of sideways in the air, in the end it just ends on the 4 wheels. But this is a bit of a problem. If you do a front flip, although it's a combination I'm not often used with a Monster spec, but I think it has a bit of a weight problem, that the weight is a bit too much to the front or something, which makes it go on the front wheels sometimes, or back wheels, and yeah. But if you keep it some sort of route where you keep it pretty clean, then it's not a big of an issue. Bam. Landing, not big issues with landings like that. The Raptor, being a pickup, has a bit more of a problem with weight than this one, so some occasions, or some arenas even, this one will be better than the Raptor. For scramble tests, well, in the beginning I used this one, and lately I'm moving over to the Raptor for that, but this one or the Raptor are the best Monster specs, in my opinion. In some occasions you can use the Scirocco, but also that one has a bit of landing issues. But again, another one, or let's say another good spec, so I think we can conclude meanwhile that the Nissan Skyline is probably the best full spec car in the game. Meaning that it has all the specs and you can use a lot of them, which is not the case with the other full spec cars, being Mustang, Challenger, 370Z and the Camaro. And then we come down to the drift spec. The drift spec is pretty decent on wider tracks, most likely, although I think we're gonna end up with the BMW M5 then again. But yeah, well, the rear of the car is not that big. The nose or the hood, on the other hand, is. And just like with the 370Z and the BMW Z4, that is kind of an issue, which gives some sort of weight balance problem. And like I said, every drift car can be used, but it makes it a bit harder to flick that car around. And it doesn't matter if that's at 749 or at 1299. This one is almost at 1000. So it might lack a bit of power, but it doesn't change, just like with the Challenger and the Camaro, it doesn't change the weight, does it? Matter of fact is that there are lighter cars which, like the RX-7, it's just way easier to flick around. And also you can use that on all tracks. On tracks like this, it's going to be a bit harder to use the Skyline. On wider tracks, I don't expect big issues. It does have a problem gear wise. If you use second gear, the speed is a bit low, so you probably have to go for third, but then you go a bit too fast, so then you have to go down. So it's clearer with some of the cars. You just put them in third, or you put them in second, and you keep it there the whole track. Just like with 370Z and the Z4, they also have pretty long nose or long hood. Makes it a bit, yeah, harder to flick them around. Which, in my opinion, or at least with my keyboard, makes them a bit less interesting to use. But it can be used. Also, this one can be used. But the best use for the extreme specs, yeah, monster spec. For me, at least. Best use for the extreme monster, best use for the normal specs. The street one, of course, seeing it's one of the best, if not the best. I will see you guys in the next one, and bye for now.